Good afternoon, I'm Susie Nordquist and this is your midday news fix for Tuesday, the 27th of August. More details are emerging about the fatal crash on Auckland's southern motorway. Witnesses say a southbound truck blew a tyre and ripped through a median barrier yesterday afternoon, hitting a van which then collided with two other vehicles. 3 people died and 3 others were critically or seriously injured. Samoan media are reporting the 3 dead and 1 of the injured were Samoan seasonal workers who were returning to Auckland to fly back to Samoa tomorrow. Franklin councillor Andy Baker says bystanders stepped in to help, knowing they would witness truly unforgettable things.
Oh, it's just shocking. Any fatality or any serious injury, any crash really is a terrible thing and just incredibly bad.
Correction says it is making improvements to its management of extreme risk prisoners. An inspection of Auckland Prison's high-risk prisoners unit has found it is overly restrictive conditions could have profound and long-lasting physical and psychological effects. Here's senior political reporter Sophie Trigger.
Custodial Services Commissioner Lee Marsh says the unit holds prisoners if there's ongoing risk they'll threaten or behave violently, and those linked to organised crime networks or with extremist views. Extra training will be given to the unit's staff and a wider range of rehabilitative, constructive and cultural activities offered. Prisoners will also have access to more family contact through audio-visual link.
The government is refocusing its efforts on ensuring only those entitled to the benefit actually receive it. Social Development and Employment Minister Louise Upston says there are schemes in place where employers get a taxpayer's contribution towards the employee's wage. Upston says the government's refining these schemes, aiming to have 70 to 75% of those supported by flexi wage being people on job seeker support by June 2025. Universities are said to be facing stress. A Tertiary Education Commission briefing paper suggests Massey University and Wellington's Victoria University are deemed high risk. 4 universities have budgeted for a deficit this year, and RNZ reports 8 tertiary institutions saw a deficit of $64 million added up. Australian workers can legally switch off outside of work hours under their new right to disconnect. The law means employees can refuse unreasonable contact from their boss on weekends, evenings or on their days off. Australian correspondent Leslie Yeomans says Australia's Chamber of Commerce is one of the groups calling the law unnecessary. But she says the Greens, Australia's Council of Trade Unions and its Labor government disagree.
They say these new laws have been a long time coming because no worker, particularly a junior employee, should feel like they have to be taking phone calls or checking emails once they get home after work.
In sport, and Coco Gauff has made a dominant start to her US Open tennis title defence, advancing to the second round in straight sets after just over an hour on court. She says some shaky form weeks before the tournament has now dispersed. Liam Lawson is considered a leading contender to race for Williams if they choose to make a driver change for the Italian Grand Prix on Monday. Autosport is reporting the British outfit are weighing up whether to sideline Logan Sargent after his blunder during a practice session last week. Sargent, who is without a drive next year, crashed into the barriers in the wet, destroying many of the latest upgrades that Williams had purchased. I'm Susie Nordquist and that's your latest news fix. We will be back with the next update at 5 p.m. from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.